Hello, this video is to take advantage of a situation where I have an amp in for repair that I have not seen before and have no experience with. This is a late 70s or early 80s acoustic model G60T. This amp has two channels. The first channel has a volume. The second channel has a volume and a drive control. This is the schematic here, and if you I'm not going to go through the entire schematic, but suffice it to say we have two 6L6 output tubes, a 12 AT7 phase inverter, solid state rectification, and this is a grid biased amp, and there is a bias adjust pot on the inside. And I actually happen to have the amp open here and on, so we can take a look at it while it's open. You'll see over here, huge transformer, just an enormous power transformer. The same can be said of the output transformer. It's enormous as well, almost as big as the power transformer. Really nice iron in this thing. I'm genuinely surprised. Good construction. The only complaints I would have, obviously this is a printed circuit board, which I'm not big on, and the sockets are direct mounted onto the printed circuit board, which to me is just a big no-no. I really don't like that aspect of it. And also if we come around here, you'll see the pots also have their own printed circuit board on which they are direct mounted, which I find equally detestable. That doesn't mean that that's a bad sounding amp. It just means the construction could be a bit better. You'll see here we have all the original caps still in place. There's a can cap underneath, but we have caps here. This is one of the larger electrolytics as well, and again there's another can underneath, and it looks like a Sprague. Here is the bias adjust pot. When I got this amp in for service, that pot needed to be cleaned and worked. There was a lot of dust on the inside of this amp, and sprayed out most of it and cleaned it pretty well, pretty thoroughly actually. The one thing that I will say about it, and I don't know if this is just something that the amp did originally, or if this is something that this particular example is doing wrong, but there are actually two controls. There's a drive control and a volume on the second channel. This drive control, when you turn it too far, and that actually looks like it's pushing a little transistor element, so you get more drive input into the tubes. And if you turn it too far, you start to get squeal. But if you back it off just to the point, up to the point of the squeal where it begins, obviously you can drive it pretty much to the max without the squeal. That's probably something I could do to go in there and try to bias that transistor a little colder, or excuse me, for more headroom perhaps, and maybe get it to where it doesn't squeal. That's not something the customer has instructed me to do, so I'm not gonna do that. But that's something that if I owned this amp, I would probably go in there and try to adjust that somewhat, where it did not do that, where it never reached the squeal at the top of the control, so you never messed up and actually went to squeal in a live situation. All of the switches are kind of neat. You've got a raft of switches over here. This is for your channel, for volume 1 or 2. And you see, like, right now I have the control for the drive all the way near the top, and so when you switch, that little surge actually will make it squeal a bit in between switches. So the more you back that off, the less it will do it. So I'll probably just instruct the customer to adjust that so that it doesn't squeal on switching, and he'll probably be okay in his live situations. There's a bright switch for the channel as well, which tames everything down a bit and probably allows you to drive a little further before the squeal begins. And yeah, that is the truth. You can actually crank it a little further before that squeal actually starts, and it overdrives the next stage. We've got standby power, and we have a ground reverse, which does make a difference right now because while the cord is original, it has a grounded plug. Don't know why they would have a ground reverse if they had a grounded plug. Perhaps it was a situation where, well, see, this came out in the late 70s, I believe, so perhaps the early 80s. I'll have to research the model, but by the time this came out, while they were putting 3-prong plugs on things, not every household had adapted to that. So a lot of people were actually using adapters with these 3-prong cords. So if you were to plug a little adapter on it that's 2-prong and then plug it into the wall, you would want to have this ground reverse switch to allow you to, you can see there, much quieter when in the up position the way I have it plugged in now. So you would want that in if you were using some sort of adapter. So while it had the 3 prongs, and it's weird to have a ground reverse switch with a 3-prong cord, it seems a little extraneous, but in the late 70s everyone would have been on the verge of this changeover, so that's probably why they did that. Of course it does have a standby power on switch. Nothing in the inside looks burnt. There were some grounding issues. There was one wire that was barely hanging on. Took a minute to figure out what was going on with that. But other than that, a lot of cleaning, a lot of spraying out. This thing was filthy on the inside, and now it sounds pretty good. I'll tell you one thing. This is one of the heaviest amps that I've ever, heaviest 112 combos I've ever picked up. And it does have a huge speaker, a Celestion, Mesa Boogie labeled Celestion. And apparently, according to the customer, now I haven't confirmed this, but according to the customer, these have supposedly some similar attributes to Mesas of the time. I don't know if they were similar to some of the Mark series or not. I suppose someone could educate me on that, or I could look it up myself, I'm sure. But just while I had this thing open, I wanted to show it off a bit, and we'll also see how it sounds here. Stay tuned. Okay, we've got this thing all buttons back up, and we're gonna check out some of the tones here with the telly. I'm gonna start out on the drive channel. Now let's go over to the other channel, clean. Add some reverb. So yeah, that's how this thing sounds. Pretty good amp.